colonial country of Britain, the dreams of Barack Obama's grandfather, an independent Kenya, they were realized. And then his father came. He wanted a Marxist utopia in that country for that now independent nation. Well, they seem closer than ever now. And here's why I mention it today. The new Kenyan constitution was put to a referendum and passed just last week. And the exciting new document is here. It contains a preamble spelling out the social justice of the people's right to housing, health, and food. Now, this is interesting because this is now a charter of positive liberties, not negative liberties. It'll tell you what the government has to do for you. My question is, when you have health care in a nation as poor as Kenya, how do you make good on those rights? This reads very much like the old Soviet Constitution. Somewhere, Barack Obama Sr. is smiling back. But how about Barack Obama Jr., the dreams from his father? What was it Barack Obama said about the American Constitution?
Generally, the Constitution is a charter of negative liberties, says what the states can't do to you, says what the federal government can't do to you, but it doesn't say what the federal government or the state government must do on your behalf.
Like this one does. Now, Kenya's seems to be a document of positive liberties. In Section 33 of the new Constitution, under the heading Freedom of Expression, it outlines a few other specifics. The right to freedom of expression does not extend to propaganda for war, incitement to violence, hate speech, or advocacy of hatred that constitutes ethnic incitement, vilification of others, or incitement to cause harm, or is based on any ground of discrimination specified or contemplated in Article 27(4). In the exercise of the right to freedom of expression, every person shall respect the rights and reputation of others. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm sure the incitement to violent or hate speech or advocacy shouldn't be at all difficult to define. They won't have a problem with that one at all. The dreams of his father have been realized in Kenya late last week. Did you know that? Does he know that? Are they unrelated? Is this unrelated to the dreams of his son? Because the dreams of his son seem almost like the dreams of the father. And they're not the dreams of my dad. I doubt they're the dreams of yours. The dreams of my father were that we would be able to make our own way in life. I think those are the dreams of Martin Luther King's father as well. The vast majority of Americans share the dreams of our forefathers, not the nightmares, the dreams, the aspirations, the hopes, the goal. The dreams responsible for creating the reality of the freest, most prosperous, and most generous nation to ever exist on earth. Another thing America has to decide. What were the dreams from his father and his grandfather that have now, after all these years, been realized? And is the son and grandson pursuing those same just goals against colonialism here? Back in a minute. I want to take you someplace before we get to the news of the day. I don't know. I was with some good friends this weekend. We sat around a dinner table. I bet we spent 10 hours around that dinner table over the weekend, just talking. I'm talking about where we're headed as a country and what life is going to be like when we're old and our kids are bringing the grandkids in. and what our dreams and hopes and aspirations are for our kids and the future. We're living in historic times. Do you think your neighbors know that? I showed you a minute ago the dreams of Barack Obama's father. They've been potentially realized in Kenya through Soviet-style changes in their new constitution. Barack Obama has clearly been heavily influenced in his political ideology with all of the people in his life, from his father and mom, to his grandparents, to his communist mentor, Frank Marshall Davis. He says himself in his books that he sought out Marxist college professors, anti-colonialists, Jeremiah Wright. I mean, we can see that the people he surrounded himself with, and he was surrounded by his whole life, had this kind of ideology. Now look who he surrounds himself with now. You can see the influence in his policies. Even his casual conversation that was made into, oh, not such a big deal.
I think when you spread the wealth around, it's good for everybody.
Okay. A child can't help but being impacted by his family and close friends. I don't know if Barack Obama, was motivated by the dreams from my father, but if you read this book, you will conclude that, yeah, he was. But that's not why I want to talk to you about this. It's not really even about Kenya, an old-style Soviet constitution that was just passed last week. This country has always been about ideas, not people. And our country is now becoming more and more about people and less about ideas. Now, if it's not about Barack Obama or Rush Limbaugh or whoever, it's about groups. This group versus this group. It needs to be about ideas again. But that requires personal responsibility. And I want to show you your place in time. I want to talk to you as a mom or a dad. Think about this for a second. What is it you learned from your parents? What were their dreams? What were the dreams from your father and your mother? And how did you learn it? I don't know about you, but my folks said an awful lot of things, and I remember a few of them because, you heard them all the time. This is going to hurt me more than it hurt you. But those aren't the important things I learned from my parents. From my mom, I think I learned creativity. I learned it from both of them, but my mother was exceptional. She was like, a crazy Martha Stewart. I mean, she could make anything out of a hairbrush and a hanger, and you're like, hey, look, it's a bike. How did you do that? I mean, she was amazing. One year I remember she made a Christmas tree out of chicken wire and newspaper, and we're like, what? And we came back, and it was finished, and it was amazing. My father was also very creative, but I learned the value of hard work from him. He worked all the time, and he loved what he did. He took pride in what he did. My dad and I, because he was working all the time, and we had different interests, we never connected when I was a kid. But I started working when I was 13. I got a job in radio, and my father, quietly, never said anything except, what time's work? My father drove me 90 miles as a 13-year-old to take me to this little radio station where he would wait for 6 hours for me to finish my weekend shift. Those were his days off. And then he'd drive me back home. I don't even know if I said thank you enough. What was the dream of my father through his action? Well, I think to show his son that he loved him. And that love doesn't come through hugs. Love comes through service. By being there, he showed me his dream was to follow your passion, to be true to yourself. I don't think I ever really learned something from my parents that was truly important because they said it. I'll never forget my father, used to always say, treat the cops with respect. This is at a time where I'll never forget my grandfather during the 60s. He's like, those damn hippies. And they used to really hack off my father and my grandfather. And I remember one time my father was stopped by a cop. And